Hi guys, so welcome back to my channel. Today I have a quick little video that I've been meaning to do forever. Guys, you know what? Aaron and I bought a house this past year. No, not this year that we're in, but last year. And I've been meaning to make a video sharing some of the tips and tricks as to how we got ourselves into a home of our own. And time has just been against me. So today I'm just going to share either 3 or 4 or 5 tips on what you can do to help get yourself into a home if you haven't owned one already, if you don't own one already, because it's not always easy. And we see people in their new home all the time, but it doesn't mean that they got there overnight, and everyone's situation is different. So, you know, whatever little tips and tricks there are that are out there that can help one to get themselves into a similar position where they can own a home of their own or call their own, I think it's really cool for us to share that. And so being that Aaron and I got into the market this year and we've learned a few things, I decided to make a little video to share some of the things we learned, okay? Yes. So if you want to see this video, continue watching. Anyways, guys, so tip number 1 would be, okay, and this is going in no particular order. So tip number 1 that I'm going to share is to save your money, okay? Save, save, and save.
And save. And save.
Meaning don't overspend, don't buy unnecessary things that you don't own, because I be looking in this house sometimes and I'm like, wow, there are stuff everywhere. And you just don't want to I don't know, you can buy things, but then things are just things. They're just sitting around and they don't go anywhere. And next thing you know, you've got a house full of clutter, house full of stuff. Or, you know, a rented house full of stuff. Meanwhile, you want to buy and you can't because you're just spending money on things that don't matter or things that you don't even use half the darn time. So save your money. The tips that I'm sharing here, some are specific to Canadians, but it doesn't matter. Like, just to help get yourself in a house. That's a general rule for everyone. But here in Canada, it's not easy to get into the market. You have to have a decent down payment to get in the market. You have to have a bunch of other stuff that I'm going to share with you. But yeah, you have to have a decent down payment. So in order to come by your down payment, you have to save money. Because if you cannot save, then how are you going to grow this money? You can't just borrow it from people. You've got to save it on your own. So that's tip number 1. I know it's not always easy, but coming into tip number 2, here's a simple way that I'm going to tell you how you could do it. So here in Canada, I'm pretty sure they probably have it in the States as well. But here we do have the RSP savings account. And here in Canada, first-time home buyers can actually use their RSP, and they can use it towards their home for the first time they're buying. And there's not like a huge penalty. You can take out the money and you have 15 years to pay it back. Now, for our particular situation, we learned about it after we were kind of already saving for, about a year, because in reality we were very kind of lackluster when it came to saving initially. We bought our kids everything under the face of the planet. They have so much, and at the end of the day, when push came to shove, we're like, okay, we want to get into a house, and then we realize how hard it is, and we're like, oh, we should have saved a little more. So we actually had to plan to save and to start being, like, what do you call it? We had to start just kind of really getting serious at it, and we did. At one point, we actually dipped into our savings to go on a vacation, but that's a whole different story. It wasn't even a vacation, it was more like to visit family. But back to reality, we did save, and then when we did learn about the RSP loan, we actually took advantage of that, and we saved whatever we could in it. And the beauty of that is that it's kind of like free money. It's RSP is an investment, so it does grow interest. Obviously, you have to have a significant amount in there for it to grow any kind of significant interest. Well, depending on the market and depending on whatever you do, there's more things to it if you are serious about it and you want to get in depth. But that is what we did. Now, if you're watching this and you're not going to buy a house anytime now, but you're planning in like 5 years from now, you're in even a better position than we were in, because you can actually plan long term and actually grow a decent chunk of money. So yeah, definitely check that out. That's my tip number 2. Use the RSP savings to help you save. And if you do live in the States, I'm not sure what they have that would be helpful to you, but you should definitely check it out. Number 3 is don't make any large purchases before, like if you're planning on buying a home, I would say in the next 2 to 3 to maybe even 5 years. That's one thing we did. We knew we were planning to buy a home, and we also knew, I remember my dad saying, yeah, you don't want to buy a new car, you don't want to buy a new car, and we're thinking, okay, we're not going to buy a new car, but then our car broke down, and then we bought a new car. Sad story, because in the end that did affect us. You buy a new car and it does have increased payments, and like high payments I should say, and then that is going to take away from the amount of mortgage that you will then have, right? If you have a car payment that you're paying like say $500 or $600, then that's huge. That's going to take away from the amount that you could have been paying to a mortgage. Maybe the total amount you could have been paying was $3,000, but then you're saying now you're going to be paying 500 of that, and it will then take away from the mortgage amount, which will then decrease the size of the house you want to buy, or the amount that, you know what I mean? So it does all affect, it all works in one giant circle. Debt to asset ratio and income, all those things play into one another. So I wouldn't make any large purchases or take out any major loans, because that will definitely have a strike against you, because it counts as more debt. You're taking out more debt, and more debt's just going to take away from what you really want. So on to tip number 4. Tip number 4 was to do your research to make yourself more knowledgeable about just the housing market, the requirements, just there are lots of ins and outs that you need to know, like the amount of down payment that's typically required, the costs and stuff associated with your house and all that stuff. So if you do your research, then and maybe even meet with a mortgage consultant at some point, just to kind of set yourself up. Preparation is the key. So if you have awareness and you have knowledge, you will go far, because you're doing research ahead of time, not at the most appointed time. So yeah, doing your research is definitely going to help you, because at the end of the day, there are all these costs associated with buying a house that you may not even know of. And even if you think, oh, I'm going to save $25,000 to put down as a down payment, that's not enough for everything. That's just a down payment money. At the end of the day, you're still going to need funds to pay your lawyer, which can be over $1,000. You're going to need to pay the land transfer tax fee that comes from the home that you're purchasing, and depending on the price of the home, if it's like $400,000 or something, you're going to have to pay like almost $5,000 in land transfer tax fees that will then be put, it's just more money that's added. And then there are all these little things. And I'm going to give you an example. Like when we were saving our money, we were going to pay, in Canada, you're required to pay at least 5%. Unless your house is over 500,000 plus or whatever, then you need to pay, was it 10%? And then I think it's 5%, maybe 5% for the first 500, and then you have to pay 10% for the following after that. Kind of told, okay, you want to pay a certain amount. We thought, okay, that's good. We'll have a little bit of chunk of change left. But then we went to go meet with a lawyer, and we're doing our paperwork and going over the finances and stuff. And then there are last minute things from the other home buyers that may get put onto you that you may not have thought about, and it's just, or all these little things that just pop up, and it's like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 later, and then you're like, oh my gosh. And it's like, you want to have extra funds kind of sitting there on the sidelines, just preparing yourself for just the inevitable, anything, like just things that are outside the norm. You want to have your down payment money, but you also want to have like a good little chunk of change, maybe another $4,000 or $5,000 that you can then use to take care of the little things, not to mention moving costs. There's just all these little things, getting the house changed, the title of the house carried over into your name. But yeah, there are all these little things that are just important. And as a first-time home buyer, we're often left kind of clueless.
Oh, what's this?
What's that? We're always just kind of left going,
oh, okay.
And you don't want to have to run left, right, and center worrying about that stuff. So we were very, very lucky, very, very fortunate. It was just like a tight squeeze when it came to everything. And I like to be candid with you guys. I don't want to share I'm not going to go into details and share, obviously, our particular amounts about blah, 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 because that's not important to you. But just, I'm not going to lie when it comes to just saying that there are all these little things that you really have to pay attention to, because if you don't, you will kind of get screwed, and you don't want to do that. I think that's all I'm going to share for this video. That's 5 tips that I think that would be very, very helpful if you are looking to buy a home at some point in your near future. Definitely take them into consideration. Like I said, don't go out taking out loans, because all those things are going to work against you. Definitely save your money. Invest into accounts that will help you save money. That's also an asset, and because in the end, they also are helping you like kind of grow your money, especially if you're going to save it over a longer period of time. And definitely do your research, because like I said, knowledge is key. If you are, whenever you're doing anything, it's definitely important to kind of plan it out, because when you do, it will go that much further. It shows, your work will show in the end, in the long run. It will be definitely better off than the guy who didn't put any thought or any preparation into what he was doing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe if you do, and definitely share this video, and that will help me know just how much you guys are enjoying them, because I do plan on putting out a few in this series, and I'm thinking of doing them sooner than later. So let me know if you're enjoying them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and much love. Mwah. Bye.